first candidate is going to be our sheriff candidate. And we will have him come up and share with us, and then if we have a few questions, we'll give a few minutes of question and answers after that. So, Scott Holzinger.
I say that because if any of you have heard me speak already in the last month, I like to talk. So, especially when I'm passionate about something. So, this campaign, deer hunting, sports, all that stuff. So, thanks for inviting me tonight. Again, my name is Scott Holzinger. I'll give my quick elevator speech, I guess, if you will, but what I really want to do, and I see it's on here and I'm happy that it is take questions. And I'm going to touch on this in a second, the importance of the role of sheriff, the role of the sheriff in terms of service to all of you and the rest of our residents and our visitors. So I was born here in Midland, grew up out in Hope Township, north of town, part of a farming family, some may know, Fillmore's and Maxwell's. My mom is a second oldest of the Fillmore clan that was out there on Schaefer Road. Moved to Sanford in middle school. I attended Meridian public schools for my education. After that, I was fortunate. I actually got a scholarship to play football and baseball at Northwood, and went to football camp, realized everyone was way bigger than me, and tore my rotator cuff in the second week of practice. So I'm 3 shoulder surgeries in and tried to still stick with baseball, and it just didn't work. So I ended up transferring to SVSU, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree, attended the Northeastern Police Academy at Delta. I was fortunate to have been hired the day I graduated from the Police Academy at the Sheriff's Office. I'm married. My wife Jen is from Midland, born and raised as well. We've been, I was going to say the years, but I don't want to get it wrong. We've been married for a while. I hope she doesn't watch this. So she works at Dow in Investor Relations, and we have 2 boys. Logan is 15 and Kellen is 12. They both go to Meridian. Jen is a trustee on the Meridian Board of Education as well. We're real busy. Boys are into everything, travel, sports, and so Dad throws a campaign in the middle of this. So it's a busy time for us right now. So I've been in the sheriff's office, I've worked at the sheriff's office since 2003. I started in the courts. It's actually where I met my wife. She wasn't in trouble. She was an intern at the prosecutor's office, and so we met there. So I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be out in a patrol car, and God has a plan, and it was planned for me to meet her there and kind of settle me down, because I'll be 45 this fall, and I have a lot of energy. And so I started there, and then I moved out to the road patrol in 2004. And then in 2013, I was promoted to the Detective Bureau, where I am today. That is my job right now, which I enjoy greatly. However, so 21 years in the sheriff's office. This isn't just an opportunity. It is an opportunity. The sheriff's retiring. It's always been my goal and aspiration to be the sheriff of Midland County. So I've spent 21 years preparing myself for this moment, and I believe I'm ready for it. Someone asked me, would you be the youngest sheriff in the state of Michigan? And I think so. So with your help, we can make that happen. So I'm not going to get, I always say success is hard to measure in law enforcement. I've won some awards, some accolades and things like that. My grandfather DeWitt Fillmore, worked for the sheriff's office. He was killed just down the road here in 1976 by a drunk driver. And that kind of sparked or piqued my interest when I was a kid to get involved in law enforcement. And I like people, and I like being out and about, and I've always felt an urge and pull to serve. Whether it was mowing lawns as a kid, baling hay, I've served on boards, I coach everything that you can imagine. So I've always felt a gravitational pull to serve. So I've been focusing on three things in this month of campaigning, and obviously a sheriff's office has much more than three things. But these three topics can encompass, I think, the office is in its entirety. The first is enhancing public safety. And how do we do that? Obviously, if I win, I've never served as sheriff, so please be patient with me and bear with me, as there's undoubtedly going to be a learning curve associated with that. The sheriff's office doesn't have an endless budget, as you are all aware as taxpayers. Our numbers are what they are right now, and we have less road patrol today than we had when I started in 2003. I'm not passing blame. I didn't work in administration during the time where we had some cuts, and the cuts occurred, and the facts are what they are. And the facts are we have less road patrol today than we did in 2003. Now, I think it's pretty obvious our world has changed since 2003. So what are there opportunities? Are there different funding opportunities, grants? Is there opportunities to work with the townships? I mean, the townships are, their budgets are what they are, or what they are, but is there an opportunity to work with townships to bolster those numbers? I don't know, but that's something, if I win, then I'm certainly going to ask. As many of you are probably aware, and some people don't realize this when they see a patrol car and they think that's all the sheriff's office is road patrol, but statutorily, the only thing that a sheriff is actually responsible for is operating the county jail. It's a huge part of a sheriff's office and this role. And we built a new jail, I believe it was in Jeanette can maybe help me, 2009 maybe? Sure, yeah. It's gonna be paid off here in the next 3 years, I believe, that bond, which will free up some money, and then, what do we do with that? So, how do we work with what we have? If I don't get more people, is there ways that we can look to be more efficient? And that ties into what I've been talking to a lot of people about, is modernizing the sheriff's office. There's a ton of tradition. Sheriffs go back to the Bible and British rule. Sheriffs have been around forever. So there's a ton of tradition. I'm not saying you'd see our guys and gals out patrolling in joggers and hooded sweatshirts, but one thing I hear a lot is relatability and being approachable. And so that's part of enhancing public safety as well. The second thing is collaboration. Some of you may or may not know that we share a building in town with the city police, which is, sorry, I told you I talked a lot, is unique because most sheriff's offices are embedded in their jails. They'll have a wing where road patrol is, and then they have the jail. We don't have that. We have the law enforcement center, which is behind Kroger. So we share services right now with the city police, our SWAT team and our dive team, and there's opportunities to do more. Not gonna overpromise and underdeliver, but I have spoke to Chief Ford, Nicole Ford, for the Midland Police, and we've had some exploratory conversations. We haven't won anything, but so there are opportunities to collaborate in that regard. But then with the townships, again, it is, I always joke, people said, well, I heard this about this going on in Sanford or whatever, what have you heard? And I'm like, nothing. We don't hear everything in law enforcement. If you wanna know what's going on in your township, ask your township board. They know what's going on in your townships. So is there opportunity to collaborate more with the townships? I don't know, but that's something that I plan to explore. The last thing is support for law enforcement. And here's what I mean by that. When I hired into the office in 2003, I recall taking an actual physical or written test with approximately 100 people. And I think they hired 5 of us at that time, 4 or 5. Today, part of my role is I do background investigations, and we just hired 3, and we had a hard time getting 3 applicants. So I don't think it's news to any of you. I love seeing you folks being active and educating yourselves and being proactive. But our industry, if you will, is under assault. And a question I like to put back on folks is, imagine going out every day, and if you're working or if you're not, just imagine having a camera strapped to your body and having every interaction recorded and then potentially scrutinized, you know, and you know, put on Fox News or something like that. So, you know, pay, benefits, all that, those things have changed. Midland County, we do really well for a sheriff's office in that regard. But we wonder why we're having a problem with recruiting and retaining good talent. It is for reasons such as that, in my opinion, and I can give that opinion because I work that job. When I go out and make contact with the public, you know, I fall under the same rules. I put on a camera, and as soon as I make contact with somebody, I push the button, and the entire interaction is recorded. And then if there are problems, if they say there's problems, it's scrutinized. I mean, I'm of the opinion they can help in some regard, in some situations, but guys don't like them. But in addition to that, for support of law enforcement is we need to spend every possible cent available to us on continued education and training. It is absolutely critical. And the world, I mean, it used to be, oh, things change in 10 years. I mean, it changes by the day now, it seems. So we have a wonderful facility with different training opportunities already in the building, and I think there's more that we can do with those things, along with increased educational opportunities. So those are the 3 main things that I'm focused on. I tweak my elevator speech depending on the group. The conversations that I've had with internal union groups are a little bit different. They're worried about beards and, you know, pants that aren't so hot and different shirts and stuff like that. So I don't think that's anything you folks really care much about. So I'd love to take questions if you have them.
What do your employees want? If they had a wish list and said this is what we need, number 1, 2, and 3, what would they say to you?
Well,
Other than you informing them, like
yeah,
or whatever.
so it's funny, I'm the vice president of our patrol union, and we literally just this week finalized our new contract, a 3-year contract, and we had 5 months of negotiating. So that question, there are lots of answers to that. I will say this, they want, and I'm not saying that Sheriff Green or Sheriff Stevenson, I've worked for 4 different sheriffs. All have had their own style, take things from them, good, bad, whatever. But I would say at the top of that list is they want to feel supported and empowered and afforded the opportunity to go out and work and do their jobs, and you know, if something happens, be supported. Pay, we all want pay raises, right? But I would say probably at the top of the list is unwavering support I've used that word before and I thought about it, and that's a tough word because we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes as a person and in my career. And, you know, there were times where I had some tough conversations. So saying unwavering means no matter what they did, you know, or what somebody does, no matter what, I'm gonna support you. That's just not, I don't like dealing in absolutes, so, but support, for sure.
So right now, they don't, I'm hearing that they don't really feel like they have it right
No.
now? I'm just curious.
No, and that's why I wanted to preface that by saying, you know, I'm not, this isn't a shot against the current sheriff or past sheriffs or anything like that. It is, it's related, again, I was talking about the cameras.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think it is public support, or public, I mean, we have social media now, and, you know, I'm a firm believer in the First Amendment, but some people get confused that just because you can go to Facebook and type some thoughts, doesn't mean that there aren't some bad consequences that go along with things that you post. But, you know, we just had one recently where one of our sergeants had a tough incident, and someone absolutely took him to task on Facebook, and he just sat there and take it. And I'm not saying that the sheriff needs to get involved in those things, but I don't know if that makes sense. But no, I'm not saying that it isn't occurring right now from an administrative level. I just know that they want to feel that support. So, go ahead.
And as a candidate for sheriff,
Yeah.
are there other candidates? Also, how many other candidates are in this pool?
Yeah, there's one other candidate. So I'm running as a Republican. I should have added that. There's one other Republican candidate right now.
Because when Sheriff Green ran, he was unopposed.
Well, no,
In
he
2020.
no, he actually had 2 people. Yeah,
Because I just got online and I looked at his.
yeah,
Okay.
mhm.
All right.
Yeah, Jim Chambers is the other
Okay.
person running right now.
Okay. And are you, I have a second question.
Mhm.
Are you aware of the, I'm just gonna say it, the illegal.
Please do.
That have been busted in the Midland County house and local hotels?
I am not aware of that.
Yeah, if you wanna say, repeat the question, others can't hear.
Do you want me to repeat your question?
Yeah.
Am I aware of illegals being housed in hotels in Midland?
2 hotels.
Okay.
It's happening, and I approached, the commissioners in November, maybe October, November, I can't remember. And, after the meeting, Sheriff Green came up to me and he said, how do you know this? And I said, that's your job to find out if they're there, and do we have how are you gonna protect the people in this community?
Mhm.
And do we have a contract to accept them? Yes, we have.
Is that a question for me or a question I have for Myron?
I posed that to him,
Okay.
so he was aware of it, and
Okay.
I did not get any follow-up.
Okay, okay, so to answer your question, no, I don't know of that. I'm not, I can't speak for, again, I'm in the detective bureau for the county. I have not heard that. I don't know if the city police has had, well, we don't have, off the top of my head, we don't have any hotels in the county. I think out in this Mapleton we do, but. Okay, I have not heard that. I was talking to Renita a little bit about, there was, I heard that there was a traffic stop in Grand Traverse with a busload of newcomers, or whatever is being used now, so.
Well, these people arrived in the middle of the night, so basically when I brought this up to Sheriff Green, he approached me after the meeting. He said, how do you know this? And I said, well, he said, you have video footage? He was I felt like he was trying to, get information from me rather than concerned about what I was concerned about.
Okay,
And that was annoying to me.
okay,
His job is to protect us.
yep.
And if he's not concerned about that, he's the wrong person for
Okay.
that job.
Yeah, I mean, it is, honestly, that's one thing in folks and conversations I've been having. If I don't know something, And if I'm elected and I don't know something, I will tell you that I don't know. I don't like to guess at things, and one thing that I can promise you is that I will follow up if you ask me a question that I don't know an answer to. So, you know, I watch the news, I've seen the reports, you know, and I'm not even gonna say it's gotta be a specific channel. There's been some factual reports out there that buses of illegal citizens
Right.
have been stopped in New York and other places
They're
like
all over
that.
the country right now.
Yeah, so I'm aware that those exist. So I'm gonna try to answer your question to how,
Okay.
you know, I would, you know, if tasked with this question, would approach it, is that changes things a little bit. You know, so if you see, if they're in this country, illegal or not illegal, they are afforded constitutional protections when they're in this country, until proven otherwise. That is important to me, in terms of, you know, can't just go kick somebody's door down and search their house because we think somebody is here illegally. So where I'm going with that is, in your scenario, if a bus pulls up, if a charter bus pulls up to the Holiday Inn, based on knowledge that I have garnered from watching the news and things of that, and, you know, somebody from a police department that's not from here gets off the bus, and then all of a sudden, you know, there is, you know, a bus full of people coming in, I think we are absolutely allowed to check on it and say, you know, what do we have going on here?
So this was last fall, and
Okay.
he did say, Sheriff Green did say that he would go over there to those hotels and find out.
Okay,
I haven't heard anything, obviously you haven't heard anything,
I have not heard anything about
so
it.
what did he find out?
I'm not sure. I wanna follow up a little bit on what I meant by that so I spent Monday evening in Warren Township, and I was speaking out in the hallway with a few people about the marijuana issues, okay? Has anybody not heard about Warren Township having a few shootings over the past few years? There's been some issues out in Warren Township involving medical marijuana growing facilities, okay? And, again, I'm gonna be honest, you know, if I'm asked a question, driving by a house, and if you see somebody who looks like, they may be of, a certain descent or nationality, okay, does not give us the right to then go kick in their barn door and see what they're up to. That is illegal.
I know people that are in the home, what do I wanna call it, homesteading groups
Mm-hmm,
in Midland County,
mm-hmm,
and they said foreigners have approached them to sell them chickens at $100 a chicken, and they were angry with them for not doing it, and then they have chickens that disappear. So, I mean,
Okay.
stuff is going on in the county.
yeah, and I'm not naive to that at all, and as a matter of fact, one of the things I've said is that I think every state is now a border state. You know, we see it every single day, you know, the amount of people, I mean, you can watch live video of drones that show people pouring across the southern border, and, you know, we certainly don't know where everybody is going. So it's easy to surmise then that every state in the United States can now be considered a border state.
But to house them in a local hotel, don't we have to have a commitment from the officials in the city for that to happen?
Somebody's paying for it.
Okay, we'll probably, we won't be able to solve this problem. This is just quick Q&As.
Yeah.
So, those are things that you could talk to them about later
Okay,
at a
sure,
different time. But,
sure.
So if we have a couple more questions that are.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm concerned on learning about constitutional sheriffs.
Okay.
Are you one, or will you be one?
So I figured this question was going to arise. Now, I think there's a difference, in my opinion. There are some people who can consider themselves not just a sheriff, but a constitutional sheriff. So the answer to my question, to your question, is this. As you know, the sheriff is an elected person, okay? And when you take the oath, to serve and protect is, you know, to serve and protect. It's really kind of a canned answer to give. But you're swearing to uphold the Constitution of the United States. So in that regard, absolutely. Am I running as, and I have to be honest with you, I haven't really researched what these constitutional sheriffs are running on. But yeah, in terms of upholding the Constitution, absolutely. There's nothing more important to me.
Question.
Yeah,
As the elected sheriff
yeah.
of your county,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 83 more sheriffs in the county
Yeah.
of Michigan, aren't you actually the highest elected official in that county?
Yes,
You are. Thank you.
And you work for the people.
Absolutely.
Not for the county commissioners or
You're right.
anybody who you are elected and paid, you paid, obviously, we pay you through taxes and stuff.
yeah, that's what makes a sheriff different than a police chief. A chief of police,
Right.
you know, is hired by a city council, which is then derived from Michigan legislature.
Right.
Sheriffs are directly from the Michigan Constitution. Yes, ma'am.
So on the note of upholding the Constitution, are you gonna uphold code statutes and ordinances as law?
No. Well, I don't wanna jump in and say no. We can't, I'll give an example. The sheriff's office can't enforce township ordinance. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but the townships enforce township ordinance.
Statutes and.
Yeah, statutes, I mean, common law, yes, so that, you know,
Statutes are not law, so that's my question, are you gonna enforce statutes then as law, because statutes are not law, they're not passed by the legislature through the Constitution.
we will, if elected, we would enforce laws that are enacted by the legislature.
My second question is, are you gonna support, or do you support, and are you going to enforce and uphold the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1933?
I have no idea what that is.
And then, what's she asking?
What, am I going, repeat it, an enemy, training an enemy act of,
Trading with the Enemy Act of 1933.
training with the enemy act.
Trading.
Trading with the enemy act of 1933. I don't know what that is. So I don't know how to answer that question.
Is it possible you could give him a copy of it?
The video? Or the Trading with the Enemy Act? I could give you a copy of the act.
Yeah, give him one.
I know you are. I can sit up here for a while.
So,
Oh, we did have
Thank
a
you.
couple more people, so.
good job.
Um,